I believe we have Mr. Femi Adesina, the spokesperson of President Muhammadu Buhari when he was president from 2015 to 2023, to speak to us about the man that we know, of course, and gives us some context about, his legacy as a figure that is undoubtedly etched in the history of Nigeria. Mr. Adesina, good morning once again. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I appreciate you for taking the time. I mean, there are very few people that I know that can tell the story of Muhammadu Buhari than you. So please help us understand in this moment, at this moment in time, how best to appreciate what Buhari was to Nigerians and the story that you believe is going to live on.
Thank you very much. President Buhari was not just my boss, he was my friend, my senior friend. 8 years that I worked with him, he treated me with the utmost courtesy, utmost decency. This one, they say some people don't have access to their bosses. That was not the case between me and him. In fact, the day I resumed work, he told me, anytime you need to see me, come. Whether in the office, whether at home, just come and see me. Don't let anybody stop you. So he was my friend. Therefore, I was shocked when I heard the news of his death. Shocked because we thought the worst was over. He had been in intensive care a few weeks back. That was when we were afraid. But when he got out of intensive care and was in the ward, we treated, we thought the worst was over until what happened yesterday happened. So we have lost a friend. Now, what will he be remembered for? President Buhari was a patriot, a Nigerian patriot. I remember there was a time there were issues in different parts of the country. IPOB was running riot in the southeast, Boko Haram running riot in the northeast and part of northwest, and then militants were in the south-south. He told us that it will not be under his watch that Nigeria will be dismembered. He mentioned people like Olusegun Obasanjo, T.Y. Danjuma, all of them that fought the Civil War. He said, anybody that wants to dismember Nigeria will have to reckon with people like them, and that they will not sit idly by and see the country disintegrate. He was a true Nigerian patriot. He used to tell the story of how they trekked as soldiers from the north to where he called Gakem in Cross River State, which was at the Cameroonian border. He said they wouldn't do all that and then look on while people who didn't know anything about the war will come to dismember the country. So he was a Nigerian patriot, and he served Nigeria to the best of his ability.
Right. And in talking about what has been quite an eventful 24 hours for Nigerians as this news simmered in, let me get your reaction to some of the commentary that has been less than flattering. Some people are, disturbingly celebrating the demise of the late president. How did that make you feel?
No, I don't reckon with people like that. I don't reckon with them. They don't know God, and they will meet God one day and pay. Every act, every word that we utter, we will give an account of it. So all those people doing all what you said they were doing, they will meet God one day, and it will shock them when they will have to account for the actions.
Mr. Adesina, there's this, reading your book, you say that there is there are layers to the man, Muhammadu Buhari, and Nigerians do not understand to a great extent the way his mind works, and there are misconceptions about it. We've just spoken to a lot of Nigerians about their view, their perspective about what his legacy is, or what his legacies are, as the case may be. And some of our callers, especially the last few callers, have, criticized some of his messaging. One of our callers from Benue accused the late president of of being a bigot. You've written extensively in your last book, Working with Buhari, about how passionate he was about supporting you, being a Christian, working as his aide. Tell us about some of those stories that Nigerians don't know and how it might inform them about what, was, their opinion about him before now.
Okay, let me start with 2013. 2013, he was not an elected president yet. My mother passed away, and we were having the Christian obsequies for her in Lagos. I just sent an invitation to President Buhari, who we had been friendly by then, and shockingly to me, he came. I didn't think he was going to come, but he came. It was a Christian service. He stayed throughout. When they say rise up and pray, he will rise up. Because I was so surprised that everything we did, Christian service, he took part in it. He didn't leave till the service ended. Yet they say bigot. Is that how a bigot behaves? The first Christmas we spent in office, December 2015, he called me. He said, I know you are a church person. Please go and be with your family at this season. And when you come back, I know the VP is also a church person. When all of you come back, me too, I will take some time off and go and rest. So anybody that said he was a bigot doesn't know what he's saying. I worked with him for 8 years. There was no talk of saying he would come and become a Muslim. If he was a bigot, wouldn't he try to influence me to change my religion? It never happened. So anybody saying that doesn't know, and I pity them. One of the major reasons I wrote my book, Working with Buhari, was to let people know the true man as against the mythical figure they had created in their own minds. That was why I wrote a preface that this book is being written so that you will know the true Muhammadu Buhari and not the mythical figure. So if anybody still talks about bigotry, the person does not understand, and we can only pity such a person.
And you've also expressed how sometimes, professionally speaking, as his image maker, that, the president didn't care much about, showing up his public image. He didn't care so much about being misunderstood. Do you think that perhaps worked against him in terms of how Nigerians viewed him?
Well, were some people ready to understand? They were not ready. No matter what he did, no matter what he said, they just decided to be willfully deaf and willfully blind. Muhammadu Buhari had his issues with the media since they published the 2.8 billion thing under military regime. He said he parted ways with the media since that time. But those of us working for him, managing his public image, he allowed us to do whatever we needed to do. But whether if he was more forthcoming to the media would have changed his public image, I doubt. I doubt. Some people had their minds ossified about Buhari and they were not ready to hear anything. But I'll tell you that they are vocal, but they are in the minority. I call them the vocal minority. A lot of people, millions upon millions, understood Buhari, accepted him, and they followed him passionately.
And we're at this point where it's almost a national conversation about whether he was a force for good or whether he was, part of that era of missed opportunity with all the support that he got from 2015 to 2023. What, in your view, is the right way to judge him on a scale, looking at his shortcomings? Because he's also been forthright about his shortcomings, asking for people to forgive him in the twilight years of his administration, quite eager to leave the space, obviously, because of the challenges that he's been dealing with managing Nigeria for 8 years. But talk to us about some of those shortcomings and how people should, situate it in the larger story around President Muhammadu Buhari's legacy.
Well, what I would say is no leader does all things that needs to be done or fixed in a country. It has never happened. It has never happened, and it may never happen. Each leader will just come, do his bit, his honest bit, and move on. That was what President Muhammadu Buhari did. So anybody, my colleague Garba Shehu calls it the tyranny of high expectations, tyranny of expectations. A lot of people thought it would come, wave a magic wand, and all the troubles in the country would disappear. It doesn't happen that way. But did he do his level bit, his honest bit? He did. And that is what he will be remembered for.
And while we are on the topic of some of the things that happened on the record, how much more are we going to learn in the coming days, weeks, months, and even years about, what happened in his government? I mean, you've written your book. Malam Garba Shehu just recently launched his own book, and I believe it's going to open the eyes of Nigerians to some of the things that they were not privy to in terms of the personal relationship Buhari had with some of his aides. But in talking about his records as president, especially, I mean, we have some of our callers referencing some of the corruption that happened under him, under his watch, whether it's the MFLA case or some of the other cases that are still being prosecuted. I mean, do you understand why people directly still blame him for, spearheading the country while some of these things were happening, while he was still being Mr. Integrity?
Well, do you know that till now that we speak, there has not been a single conviction of anybody that worked with President Buhari. And when you talk of corruption, allegations are easy. Accusations are easy. Until there is a conviction, you cannot say, yes, this happened. So those people are having their days in court, and when the cases end, and they are pronounced guilty, that is when we can say they were corrupt. But in terms of allegations are cheap, they are free. Anybody can cook up anything against anybody. So President Buhari was a very honest man. Yes, it's possible that some people around him did things that were not proper. It will always happen. There is always a Judas among every 12. So we shouldn't expect that all those who worked with him will be paragons of virtue. But anybody that abused trust should have his day in court.
And if you have to give the next generation some pointers about what to take away from his qualities as an individual, as a leader, as someone you've worked with, what can you point to that you think is worthy of emulation, for the next generation especially?
Yes, I'll first talk about his integrity. President Buhari was a man of integrity. Anything he said, he meant it. Whatever he told you he will do, Whatever he told you he would not do, he would not do. He was a man of integrity. And future generations should imbibe that from him, integrity. Then, accountability. President Buhari told us during the campaign that every dime that comes into the Nigerian treasury will be used for Nigerians. And as far as he was concerned, that was what happened. I remember the day he was going to sign the petroleum industry bill into law. I sat with Mele Kyari, the then group managing director of NNPC. And he told me before the program began, he said, I have never seen a president like this before. That he has not asked me to bring 1 naira from NNPC. Neither has he sent anybody with a note to say, do this for this person, give him another block or whatever. He said he had never seen a president like that before. That's an accountable person who will not touch public funds or anything. President Buhari had enough for his needs, but he will never touch public funds. Never. He didn't all his days. So that's that. Then discipline is what the next generation should also learn from him. If President Buhari has a 9 o'clock meeting on the dot of 9, he's there. He will never keep you waiting. Some people, if they have a 9 o'clock meeting, they will come at 10:30. They will not even apologize. They will just start the meeting. That was not President Buhari. He was a very disciplined man, and that is a legacy I'm sure he has bequeathed to the country and to the coming generation. And honest man. Make us clear, President Buhari was a honest man, very honest. That should be imbibed from his life and times.
And finally, Mr. Adesina, I know this has been an emotional roller coaster for you, losing a friend, losing a boss, especially when you least expected, because you, like you did say, you thought he was, turning a corner after surviving some days in the ICU. Do you think he would ever get his flowers that he deserved? Knowing what you know about him, how committed he was, you talk about his patriotism, his unwavering commitment to this country. Do you think Nigeria or Nigerians will ever truly appreciate what he has done and what he was willing to do for this country?
I'll say he got the flowers. It's no joke winning 12 million votes every time. It was only in the 2007 vote that he got about 6 point something. And we know that that was a shambolic election. President Obasanjo had said it was going to be do or die. And so they manipulated that election terribly. President Yar'Adua himself came to confess that the election that brought him to power was terribly flawed. But other seasons, 2003, 2011, he scored over 12 million votes at each time. He got his flowers. Those 12 million people are just minor. There were so many other secret disciples of Buhari in millions, scores and scores and scores of millions. They are the ones that appreciate him, that understand him. Since the news broke yesterday, I can't count the number of calls, the number of text messages I've received, all commiserating. I didn't go to bed till 1 a.m. responding to messages, taking calls, and all of them were talking about the president, the kind of man he was, and how the country will miss him. So if some people are still marooned in the other side, talking about bigotry, talking about this, talking about, they are welcome to it. But those who know President Buhari really know the kind of person he was.
Of course. You gave them their famous name, and they have not forgotten to not let you down. the whalers are indeed whaling. Mr. Femi Adesina, please accept our condolence and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this
Thank
morning.
you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
I'm grateful.